everyone, welcome to the day 2 series of Terraform tutorial. And sorry for not uploading the video yesterday, but let's start with day 2. After posting the video of day 1 Terraform tutorial, I got many suggestions and thank you for all the suggestions. So, few notable suggestions were first was that why we are using Terraform, how we are using Terraform in offices, in real world, just not by the theory will not suffice, but try to explain how we use Terraform in real world in our office tasks. So yeah, of course I'll try to cover this, and that's a very good point, of course, because Terraform is okay, we are going to create the infrastructure, but how we are going to use it in our day-to-day task in offices, yes, gonna cover this. Second was that before Terraform you should have picked cloud. Yes, that's right. Because when I'm talking about AWS, Azure, GCP, and their resources, people who are beginners will be difficult. For it will be difficult for them to understand. So that's also a very nice suggestion. Thank you so much. What I'll try to explain whatever we are going to use of anything resource, any resource of cloud here in Terraform. I'll try to explain that so that even if you are a beginner and if you are going with this tutorial, you are able to understand. I would say that it won't be very much clear because sequence is not this. I understand, but most of the things, even if you are seeing it for the first time, it won't be like you are blank. So I'll try to do that and include that as well in the series. So thank you so much for your suggestions, and without further ado, let's proceed. So in day 2, we are going to cover Terraform basics, like what are configuration files, what are what is Terraform file structure, what is providers and resources, and writing our first Terraform configuration, then Terraform init, plan, apply, and destroy. Before going to this, I would like to make you understand that why we need Terraform in day-to-day tasks in our offices. See, when we have suppose a person who is working in IT and he has to work on Windows. So when an application is built, there are many things which are being tested in Windows. There are many things which are tested in a Linux server. So to make both servers, Windows plus Linux servers, available to one person, it's not possible. So we provide a virtual machine. Virtual machine is like it will not exist in your space physically, but somewhere in cloud it will exist. Cloud providers provide these resources like AWS, Azure, GCP. They will provide these resources, and somewhere in their data centers it is there some uh, physically it is there, but for us it is virtual because it's not existing for us. Just we can log in, and after login we can do our work. So there are many servers which are required, and for that we require VMs or virtual machines or EC2 instance as we say. So the names also differ according to the cloud providers for VMs and for other resources as well. So Terraform is a language which will help us to create these resources. Either one person will go log into a cloud portal and do it manually. Instead of that, we will run one Terraform script and it will do our work. This has helped us to minimize the human efforts, plus error is not that much, and repeatable tasks can be uh, automated. Like we don't have to do the repeated task every time, just our script will do it once we trigger it. That's why Terraform came into picture, and that's why we use Terraform, and Terraform is required nowadays. Because instead of creating everything, every infrastructure manually, and then forgetting that what we had done, We script it and store it in a version control system so that even when if somebody has to go through the infrastructure, they can have code and they can go through it, that what was created, how it was created, how we have maintained. That is an easy thing to do instead of going one by one and seeing everything in UI. That's why Terraform is used in day-to-day tasks. I hope what are VMs. Basically, we'll talk about VMs or EC2. They are same thing, but in AWS we call it EC2, in Azure we call it as virtual machine. So I think it is clear. Let me know if still you want me to explain it more. So let's start with our topic, that what is Terraform configuration file. So in my GitHub, I have created this repo which I'll share. I'll share the link. Um, we have main.tf. So what is tf? Tf is an extension for all the Terraform files that we are going to create. So main.tf, outputs.tf, terraform.tf was file, variables.tf, tf. Main.tf is the main file where our code is kept. We'll store whatever we are going to create, whatever resource are like the virtual machines or the IP address, or any storage uh, resource, anything which we are going to create. All these are known as resources. We will be mentioning everything in main.tf. So main.tf is the main file. Outputs.tf. Outputs.tf is whenever anything, suppose virtual machine we have created, but that virtual machine will be assigned a name. The name we have to get as an output, because sometimes we need several, or IP address, we need that IP address because we need to use it, or we need the IP address to check that what IP address was created. So whatever we are going to create in main.tf, we need those few details, few information in outputs, that we are, for that we are using outputs.tf. Then before telling about this, I'll say variables.tf. Variables.tf, anything which we have to store, which we don't have to hard code. We want like region or any instance type, so that we can change it. We don't want to hard code, or we have to go every time in our main.tf and do the changes. We don't want to do it. We will create a variables.tf, and in that we will as declare our variables. That region will be a one variable. How we'll refer it in main.tf, that we'll see. What is terraform.tf was file? So basically in variables.tf we are declaring the variables and we are assigning the default value. That suppose if region has been declared, we have declared that region to be a variable, and we have assigned a default value to region. So if suppose there is no value defined anywhere, because we can override the values of variables.tf. There are several ways which we will discuss in upcoming videos. Then the default value will be picked. But Terraform.tf words, this is something where we can actually define the values of the variables. So if suppose this file is present and there the variable value has been defined, so the value that is defined in Terraform.tf words, that will be picked, not the default value of variables.tf. So this is how it works. We can override the values of variable.tf value by several methods, by command line methods, by terraform.tf was. So there are ways to override the values. So these are the main files. Then there is one file known as terraform.tf state, that I will show you how it is. But we don't create it. This is a state file which gets created automatically when we do terraform apply. So it is a state file which keeps a check that whatever is created manually and whatever is existing actually is whatever is there in the code, both are matching or not. So these are the main configuration files. Then what will be there in main.tf, what will be there, that I'll try to make you understand. What is so I have a VS Code and I've taken a clone over here. If main.tf. So basically, first of all, what we define is provider. Now, what is provider? Provider is something, to connect. They are like plugins. To connect to any cloud like AWS, Azure, GCP, we need providers. Af- After, they are like plugins that help Terraform to create to that AWS cloud, and we can even define the credentials. So with those credentials, it will be able to log into that um, Terraform to that cloud. So what region we want to connect to, that region can be, this is also one thing that we can define in variables, but for now I have kept it US East 1. So in AWS we have regions because uh, there are different regions are different data centers, and if we want to create server on specific region, our resources on specific region, then this region we have to define in AWS, that in which region we want to create our resources that we are going to give later on. So in AWS we have to define region. Similarly, in Azure we have subscriptions. So there is a hierarchy under that which we have to follow, and I have explained this hierarchy, I guess, in one of my video, a cloud hierarchy. But what I'll do, I'll try to make one separate video. I'll add one day more so that I can explain the cloud things more briefly. Uh, so it is not confusing for the beginners. So in region, uh, after that, in provider, we will now I will use my resource. So what resource I'm going to create in AWS, so that resource name has to be given over here. So this resource name should be, uh, it is particular that for creating a virtual machine, it should be defined as AWS instance. And this is the name that we are going to use to refer it in a Terraform only. Don't think that the name that we are going to give here to this virtual machine, with this name only our virtual machine is going to create. No, this name is just for referring anywhere this resource in only in our Terraform. If you want to refer anywhere this resource later on after getting created in our Terraform script, then only this resource name will be used. By this name, the resource is not going to get created in cloud. After this, again we have to give a block. Now, by this, everything will be defined like this only in in uh, Terraform. It's like a JSON that we are not particularly JSON, but like this only we are going to define the resources providers are defined like this. Now, to create an instance, to create a virtual machine, we need to give AMI in uh, something. For now I am not remembering, but I'm giving like this. So AMI is like Amazon machine image. So suppose if I want to create a Linux server, so for that there will be a particular Amazon machine image ID that we need to use. That's why for every machine that we have, for every type of machine, there is an Amazon image ID, so that we are going to define over here. And then the instance type is how much it will be, like what will be the configuration, suppose what will be the code, what will be the memory. So for that there are T2 micro, T3 medium, T2 small in Amazon, in AWS. Okay, so right now we are talking about AWS. That's why I'm explaining few things. So for creating a virtual machine, first of all, we need to create like what kind of OS it will have. So for that we have AMI, and what kind, like What will be the configuration that we have to define over here in instance type. So that did our job. Now all these things can be made as variables too. Right now we have hard coded, but all these things can be made as variables too. Last thing is tags. We can add tag. So now if we want that any machine that we have created, it should be created with particular name that we want to give, we can define those things in tags. Now whatever we are defining in tags, that will be visible on cloud. This name will not be visible on cloud. That is just for our reference in Terraform code. Okay. So tags are like labels that are going to be there in our on our resources when they are created there. So first resource. There is some error. Yeah, error was that I've closed the block, but it will be defined inside the resource only. So now you will be thinking that how we will remember all this, that in tags we have to give equals to, in name we have to give equals to, or how we'll remember this, that resource has to be. This will come by practice. So but this is a syntax that we follow in Terraform, and this will come by practice. So basically, but by which name we are going to create resource, what are the basic things that we need to define, that we need to give in provider, that we should be able to know, like tell if somebody asks us in an interview. So this is the tag. Now I want these things not to be hard coded, but should be defined as variables. So now we'll go to variables. Now we'll save this. Okay, we have saved this, and now we'll go to our variables.tf and we'll define it over here. Like if so variables, and what name we want to give to a variable, then default value US East 1. So this we have defined. We can give description to, and we can give even type to, that if this is string or if this is list. So we'll discuss everything about this in coming videos, like what are variables. So after this, how we are going to refer it in our main.tf about these variables. So what we'll do, we will we c- the format is what dot variable name dot region. So in main.tf we are going to refer it as vr dot region. So this, like this, we are going to use or refer the variables that are defined in variables.tf. Similarly, we can uh, declare the variables for these two, but these are still not defined in variables.tf. That's why it is coming as red mark. But we will define it. Yes. Instead of type, let's avoid type as a key because it's a keyword. So let's save the changes and let's do the same in here. There are see suggestions also started coming. So yeah. Now you came to know how we are going to do it in variables. Now output. Now after whatever our virtual machine will get created, that will be created with a particular IP address. Okay. Now we want to get that IP address. So in outputs.tf, we will define as IP, and again, so it will be defined as this, and value will be, now value will be how? AWS EC2 instance dot my EC2, okay, we define like this. It will be AWS EC2 instance set my EC2 public. Now you will think that how we are going to know that why we have to refer public IP like this only. So for this you need like this we have to anyhow learn it, or memorize it as a syntax, that AWS instance has to be used while creating an EC2 instance, and if we have to refer public IP then we have to refer in this format. So yeah, this is how we have to refer it, you can say. And if we have to get this output anywhere or use this output anywhere, then we need to refer it like my ec2 hyphen public hyphen ip dot value. Or if you want to directly output the value of my ec2 instance in your script, so there is a command for it like terraform output, and we have to just use this, so it will, whatever the output will be, it will be there in console. Okay. So this is how the things are going to be defined in Terraform, and these are the configuration file, and all these configuration file are used for what purpose that you came to know. Now after this, we are not going to do anything. Now in Terraform.tf, we don't have to do anything. We just have to define whatever we want to override. Like we have the variables that we want to override in variables.tf file. So what, with which name we have defined region as a region, and if we have to override it with this. So whatever the value we have defined over here in Terraform.tf was, that will get picked up now, not that was defined in variable, it will not. So it is a simple, we have to just define it like this, and that value will get picked up. Now you understood that what happens with region and everything. So what happens if we do Terraform init? Terraform init is just prepare the directory that yes, there is a Terraform script or code that we need to compile. So just prepare the directory like that. So it will just do an empty directory will be created. Okay. So what Terra, first we have to run after creating our files, putting everything, we have to run Terraform init. Terraform init means Terraform initialization. So what this command do? This command will um, download the plugin for AWS, and it will set the working directory, that this is the working directory, and these are the here it will find the script for the Terraform files and download the provider AWS resource plugin. Then after that, we after doing Terraform init, we need to do Terraform plan. Terraform plan, what it does, it will show, it will read your main.tf, and it will show that these are the plan, and this is the plan, and this is the resource that is going to get created. After you are satisfied with the plan, you do Terraform apply. So after Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply is done to after reviewing the plan, and after Terraform apply, it will show that whatever you have defined, it got created. Now if you want to destroy it, then you have to do Terraform destroy. So this is how, these are the commands that we are going to run. uh, that's all for today's video. I think this is enough for today, and what we'll do, we'll show everything briefly in the next video. And in next day we have variables and outputs. So in this video we'll also show that what Terraform init, Terraform apply fresh everything, but I'll try to explain it more briefly because those commands needs more brief description. That's why that's for today video. And this video is already it got stretched, so I'm keeping this video. I'm ending this video now. That's all. That's all for today's video. I hope it's helpful. Stay tuned for day 3 Terraform tutorial series. So, yeah, take care, stay safe. Bye.